Chapter 17, Shinzo and Yumiko. The old priest was right. He didn't live long enough to see the last of the red maple leaves flutter down onto the smooth surface of the little pond beneath its branches. The man Shinzo had known as his father was gone. Somewhere, deep in his heart, far from where the old man could see, Shinzo had questions around the priest's story. They were so fantastical as to not to be believed. But that's what faith is, to believe in what you can't see. Later that fall, Shinzo and Yumiko were married. They lived peacefully enough, tending the old temple grounds, lighting the incense and ringing the large copper bell to mark special events on the calendar. It was a calm life. The years passed quickly, and soon they had a son, and then a few years later, a baby girl. As their son grew up, he didn't like living almost like a beggar on the temple grounds, relying on the meager donations that the villagers would bring, or on what they were able to grow in their garden and the rabbits his father could catch in his snares. He didn't know why his father would choose to stay in such a place when there was so much in the world to see. At that time, traveling outside the country was forbidden. People who left and then returned could find themselves in prison, or sometimes even killed. But even with the threat of those harsh penalties, Shinzo and Yumiko's son wanted adventure. He didn't want to stay in the old, dusty temple. His sister, however, was content to live on the grounds and participate in the daily routine. She was in no rush to leave, though she was curious about the outside world. "Don't you want to see what's out there other than this place?" the boy whispered to his sister one night from his futon, the moonlight catching the curious silver streak in his otherwise black hair. His parents used to say quietly that his silver streak was perhaps the source of what made him so angry. Their room was small, no more than 6 tatami mats, the traditional Japanese flooring made from tightly woven rice stalk. The light brown walls were held up by the thick, dark wooden beams that made up the frame of the house. A little bit of moonlight shone in through their paper windows, just enough so they could see each other's outlines. The smell of the incense from the temple lingered in the night air. "No," she replied, "I am curious, but I'm happy here. You should be satisfied with what we have. There are many places where there is no food. Here people bring us food, and for the most part, we have the whole temple to ourselves. I think we are very lucky. Father always says—" "I don't care what he says." The boy's angry reaction startled his sister. "Father can stay here and rot if he wishes, but I'm not going to." With that, he got up, grabbed a furoshiki, a colorful cloth used to carry things, and filled it with a few of his belongings, tying the corners in a knot to make it easier to carry. He strode to the door, slid it open, and looked at his sister one more time. "Are you coming?" His sister had no idea what he was planning to do and shook her head. "No." "Fine," he said tightly, and disappeared into the darkness. The boy's sister didn't know what to do. She had seen her brother get angry before, but she thought it was all part of becoming a man. It was unsettling, but she assumed he would come back soon, so she fell back into a fitful sleep. In the morning, her brother wasn't on his futon. He wasn't in their little kitchen or by the well behind their house. She walked outside and scanned the temple grounds. Her gaze stopped short. She felt a cold hand wrap around her heart as she realized where he had gone. Barely able to breathe, she ran to her parents and brought them to the hole. Through her tears, she told them what had happened the night before. That was more than 7 hours ago. Kenji was either dead, injured, or simply gone. Shinzo found a long rope and tied one end around the base of the pagoda, throwing the other end into the hole. Yumiko was frantic, begging him to bring their son home. With a pouch of water slung over his shoulder, Shinzo grabbed a torch and lowered himself into the dark hole. There was no light except for the small torch, which wouldn't last long. Shinzo climbed up and down the rope, going a little farther each time, calling out his son's name over and over. Yumiko stood at the top, peering down at him, crying and holding their daughter tight. After a few days of this, They agreed he was gone. Perhaps dead, perhaps not. But Shinzo feared that if he went any further into the tunnels away from the hole, he may not be able to get back out, and Yumiko couldn't risk losing him too. After Shinzo had come back up for the last time, they said a prayer and put the pagoda back over the hole.